We buy into negative self-perceptions that are not in alignment with that truth. For instance, like I'm not free, or I'm shameful, you know. I'm not worthy of love is another way to say that, or I don't have any power, you know. These perceptions are just they're rampant on earth. But the thing is they're not in alignment with the fundamental truth. Underneath those perceptions, underneath that obfuscation, you could say, is what you always, always are and were. And that is total, unconditional love, peace, freedom, and joy. Okay, so I'm putting it that way, almost like in a technical way first, because when I say like you are love and there's absolutely no reason that you can't feel deserving of all the love in the universe, I mean that in a very like tangible way, not just like a philosophical like, oh, that's nice to hear way. No, your true nature is okay. So I'm going to say this very carefully, and I've written this a few times, but I've never said this sentence publicly because again, this so big ego candy warning. Okay.
Okay, I almost feel like my guest today needs no introduction. Christian Sundberg. And if you've been watching my channel for a while, you know that this is one of the top videos on my channel. I did an interview with Christian almost 3 years ago, I think.
Wow, was it?
2 years, something like
It's
that. It's been
amazing.
a little while. And when I released that, it automatically went to the #1 most watched video on this channel. I have since now done 200 interviews. I think I have 270 interviews on my channel as of today's date. And Christian has the long form video is in my top 10. And then I did a truncated shorter form video of his, which is of the same video, which is also in the top 10. And I think the reason that people are so fascinated with Christian is because he had a very profound near death experience and he remembered wanting to come to Earth specifically to let his soul have an experience that he could only have here. And he understands the power of who we are. And I think that as people are awakening to the power of who they have connected with Christian. So I wanted to bring him back so we could have a deeper conversation. This is not going to be one where he retells his story, but we are going to dive deep into lots of different topics. So Christian, welcome. I am so excited to talk to you today.
Thank you so much, Lori. Just a small correction. I don't know that I've ever had an NDE. I have had a
No, did
pre-birth
I say
experience.
NDE?
Yeah, that's okay.
Oh, sorry,
I
I
just
meant
try to be
pre-birth
I just try to
memory.
be careful. Yeah. No, so I had a pre-birth experience and out of body experiences. My body did almost die when I was 10 days old, and I always wondered if maybe that has something to do with this, but no, I don't know
I
of ever having an
misspoke. I'm
NDE.
so
No, that's
sorry.
okay.
But
No, it's
yes,
okay.
yes,
Yeah.
pre-birth. I'm glad you corrected that.
No
That's good.
problem. No
That's
problem.
good.
Thank you.
So Christian, people all over have been contacting you. And what's really fascinating to me is that I saw the interview you did with Mira Kelly, and we were talking, and you said that that was like 5 or 6 years ago.
Mhm.
That video, when I found it, was less than a year old, and it struck a chord with me. I have this little list that I would keep with my favorite experiences that people have had, and you were on that list for a long time. And when I did this channel, it was a natural to talk to you. But I think even you have been surprised with how much people have engaged with this. So, what do you think it is about your story that fascinates and draws people in?
Yeah, actually, I don't think it's my story specifically. I think so, and in fact, sharing my story is not very. I don't think it's that important, even though it's very important to me and personal to me. I think what's far more important is the sharing of what we really are, like our true
Mm.
nature, and I think that's what resonates with people, you know, because deep down, we all know, like underneath all the stories and all the form association, all the thoughts, everything we've learned during our human experience and who we think we are here on the stage, you know we all know deep down that there's more going on than this, you know. So that's really all it is. And again, it's not me. It's just that when we hear something that reminds us of the wonderful truth, we tend to resonate with it, and that's wonderful. Yeah.
I think it is wonderful. Not only is that wonderful, but after you and after I found your first interview and you had your book, I got your book. I didn't read it the traditional way because you've written your book really differently than any other book I've ever seen before. And you would talk about something and then you would put a parentheses and you would reference another place that you could go where you were also talking about that subject. So I would read a line and then I would go to the reference and read that. It took me a couple of months to read the book because I just didn't rush through it. And there is
Wonderful.
so much wisdom. Like I'm telling you, and look, like people in the comments will make comments about, oh, somebody's just trying to sell a book. Christian does sell his book, but he also offers it for free on his website. At least you did. I don't know if
I
you
do.
still do.
Yeah, I definitely do. Yeah. It's not about the money. I just want to make it available.
Exactly. But I want to tell you, I first of all, if you can afford it, because these things, people think people are making a bunch of money from this stuff, and it's just not the case. I mean, I make almost nothing from the YouTube channel. Like, we're doing this
Right,
because
right.
it's a labor of love, not because it's a big money
That's
maker.
right. Yeah.
And the same thing for you with the books. And believe me, there's not much money in the publishing. But if you can afford to buy the book, I would encourage everybody watching to pick it up because of the deep, deep wisdom that I received reading it. And if you can't, then go on his website and download a copy because you are meant to have, he's meant to share this information with the world for sure.
Thank you. Thank you.
For sure. For sure. So today I want to talk about a few things. And let's start with self-love
Yeah.
because there are a lot of near-death experiencers that I have spoken with and read about and watched, and it seems to be a topic that comes up an awful lot. And it must be important then to spirit if people are bringing that topic back. So, would you like to speak to this and what you've come to understand about it and how it works and what people need to know, I guess?
Yes. Yeah. So this is an extremely important topic, and it's one that I often get questions about or feel called to speak to, but I've also been very careful about how to comment on it actually, because I'm aware that ego, that's just the part of us that's responding to fear and trying to build up a story and justify the self. Ego loves when it hears things that, prop up the identity of self. So I'm super careful not to, say certain things that might just be ego candy. That being said, okay, okay, so what are we really? This is what this really boils down to. We are really individuated drops of the one ocean of being. So we're like pieces of God, you could say. Okay. So that's just simple words for something that vastly transcends language. But what I mean is you are a piece of the most valuable, powerful, wonderful, precious thing, the only fundamentally real thing actually. And you as an individuated piece of it are so, so, so loved. Like in a not just in a generic way, in a very, very specific, personal, understanding, deep, deep, deep way. That is our true nature. Okay, but here in the physical, we experience fear. And when we experience fear and conditioning, we end up buying into stories and beliefs that are not in alignment with that truth. We buy into negative self-perceptions that are not in alignment with that truth. For instance, like I'm not free, or I'm shameful, you know. I'm not worthy of love is another way to say that, or I don't have any power, you know. These perceptions are just they're rampant on earth. But the thing is they're not in alignment with the fundamental truth. Underneath those perceptions, underneath that obfuscation, you could say, is what you always, always are and were. And that is total, unconditional love, peace, freedom, and joy. Okay, so I'm putting it that way, almost like in a technical way first, because when I say like you are love and there's absolutely no reason that you can't feel deserving of all the love in the universe, I mean that in a very like tangible way, not just like a philosophical like, oh, that's nice to hear way. No, your true nature is okay. So I'm going to say this very carefully, and I've written this a few times, but I've never said this sentence publicly because again, this so big ego candy warning. Okay, you are what is. Okay, big ego candy there, because the ego will take that and run with it. But I don't mean that at the ego level. I mean, if you look closely at your consciousness itself, how can that not be worthy? It is that which exists. You see, it's that which is. It's that which shines with, oh, this is so beyond language, life itself, you know. So because of that, it is very important that when we don't feel that, which is very common on earth because we get lost in all these fear stories, that we at least start intellectually, to tell ourselves, remind ourselves, wait, this, all this shame, all this fear, that's not who I really am. Like you can at least think that thought to start, at least question the story and really start to locate, wait, could it be true that I really am worthy? That I really have nothing to fear, that I really am free. Oh no, but the ego will rise up and say, no, but look at all these reasons in your life you're not free. All these reasons that you don't have power, all these reasons that you're full of shame. You've been shamed. You've been, often it's conditioning from our childhood. So many people here experience abuse throughout their lives in lesser or much greater degrees. That's like a deep, deep conditioning we end up holding on to. It's a story we very deeply buy into, and then we seem to lose ourselves very deeply in it. But the thing is, you are so worthy, you can even look at that. You can even question that. You can even feel the deepest terror associated with that negative story in order to heal it. Like you are so totally worthy to do that. So self-love, long way around, but self-love is just the simple word we put on acknowledging what you already really are. I'm careful not to, like, in the book I didn't say like something about self-love as a specific idea because the rest of the book I think hopefully lifts up the truth of what we are enough that you don't need the ego candy part of it. Do you know what I mean? But meanwhile, of course, you are worthy of everything. And often being our authentic selves, which is not just a self-service, it's actually a service to the world, that often means self-care, you see. It means taking the time to rest. It means taking the time to be alone or to nurture yourself. Or, very importantly, sometimes even to distance yourself from things that are not resonant with you or that are bringing you down. You're so worthy, you can draw that line in the sand. That's not an unloving thing to do, to just recognize, oh, this person is hurting me or this circumstance is hurting me. I really can shine more if I make some space, take some space from that. You know what I mean? So that is all part of the self-love idea, and it's not always easy to find. We really feel disempowered by the ego story and by the fear story, but we are never actually truly disempowered, and that's one of the most important things we can lift up to people. You're allowed to go question that disempowering story and actually find your real self in there. It's in there somewhere, you know.
I love that. And I'm glad that you brought that part up about you are allowed to disconnect. You are allowed to take time for yourself because I feel like in our culture, and I don't know if it's the same around the world, but at least in the United States, there is a word that comes up when we do that, that is thrown around that disempowers us from doing that, which is the word selfish.
Okay.
And
Or
I feel like
lazy,
it comes up
maybe lazy.
or people will tell themselves, well, I can't
Yeah.
do this because then it's going to be selfish of me and I need to give
Yeah.
more. So will you
Hmm.
speak to that a little bit?
Yeah. So the old adage, you have to put on your own oxygen mask first, is very true. You can't, okay. So you can't actually serve in full capacity if you aren't full in your own capacity. I just had someone reach out to me yesterday with a personal realization they had. I won't name them by name and embarrass them, but if they're listening, they'll know it's them. This person had the flu yesterday, and they said it suddenly occurred to them, and this is exactly directly related to your question. They realized, oh my gosh, I am so worthy because I am a part of that which is, and I'm allowed to even be disabled basically by the flu and not able to function. I'm allowed to just be the way exactly that I am. And then when I accept it in myself, I am empowered then to help other people. You see, because it's the fullness of self is aligned with the ocean of being is like the ultimate source of strength and power. It is strength and power. I don't mean that to sound too like philosophical or abstract, but what I mean is Beingness itself is love and peace and joy and freedom, and it is so it's the thing that gave rise to the entire physical reality, actually. Like we
Hmm.
think the rules of the physical reality have all the power. They don't. They're just built-in rule set to the physical reality system. It's like it's very much subsequent to the true power, which is the power of spirit. So the reason I'm mentioning that is when you align with who you really are, which means whatever that means for you, could mean alone time, it could mean focusing on something you enjoy, it could mean, setting aside time for yourself, what in whatever way. As you do that and as you reconnect with that true source of strength, you are empowered, your vibration increases, and you are then able to arrive in the world in a more full and complete way. It's like maybe a simple metaphor might be like you can't go and help people in the world who are starving if you're not fed. You know what I mean? Like if you don't have any strength, you can't go out and do as much. So yeah, so self-care is very important, and we are allowed absolutely to make that choice to find that rejuvenation. I actually made some hard choices in my own life around that topic. I was, giving, giving, giving for years and years, and I got really burned out in my work. And after my last employer shut down, they closed our facility. I took 6 months off intentionally and did not work. I didn't do anything financially productive, which was a big step for me because I'm the primary provider for our family. And I've always worked really hard my whole life. And that was conditioning. But I purposefully was very low functioning for 6 months. I slept a lot. I did very little productive work. Because I sensed intuitively that's what I needed. And I did. And I chose that. And when I did that, oh my gosh, I healed in physical ways and in other ways that I didn't even know that I needed. And it was from that place that I was then able to go and do things like publish the book actually and share with people. And now I work a full-time job and share in this kind of way, that this is kind of capacity. That's only possible because I listened to my body and to my deeper self that was saying, stop, slow down and actually rest. Like there's not actually a reason you can't rest. I know
Hmm.
that's not
It's
easy to
because we put the
identify.
pressure and the rules on ourselves to not rest
Yes.
because we are driven in a society that values productivity, that measures success by money and
Mhm.
by material things that really don't count. So
I'm
what
feeling
have
a nudge. I'm feeling a nudge here to bring up a
yeah,
related topic.
yes, I was gonna say bring
So,
yeah, you can
yeah, okay, so the outer world says something. This is what you should do. This is who you are, right? You're the worker. You earn the money. You do the thing. This is your role in certain relationships. This is what's expected of you. We learn that our whole lives from the moment we're like two. There's another voice that has a much better vantage point than the world. That voice is the deepest voice within you. Yeah, it's your soul. I mean, soul is not something else. It means the deeper you knows. So metaphorically, the way that I've heard this put is your higher self is like standing up on a cliff, looking out over the forest.
I just got goosebumps when you said
So,
that.
so it can see the whole forest. And then you're down in the trees as the human portion of the self, and you can't see crap. All you can see is like four trees around you. And so for you, it feels like, oh, I have to go this certain way for whatever reason. The higher self can see, you know what? I actually have a much better vantage point. Now, so this is one of the reasons why I talk so much about the idea of quality of intent as being one of the primary things we're here to do in the physical. That is, wield an intention that is more in alignment with love rather than fear in all of our choice making. Because that also means, do you have a quality of intention that is so fearless and so aligned with love that you'll even listen to yourself, to your deepest? No, really, like instead of the world, can you listen to that little voice that says, I should take a different path? That's hard to do. That's hard to
Yeah.
do. But that is a quality of intention. A whole life can be shifted in that one quality of intention to listen to that voice that really, I mean, because you kind of know. Like the deeper us is always kind of whispering, and we often ignore it, because we think we know at the human level. We got all, look, I can think really hard and I can understand all these things around me. And there's value in that. But the deeper portion of you has a better vantage point. And when we actually listen to it, it actually kind of opens the door to it, by the way. Because as we listen to it, it's like saying, yeah, I'm listening. And then the deeper part will say, oh, wonderful. Here's more, here's here's more. And I didn't know that's what I was doing by following my own intuition in these matters. Like for instance, I didn't share my story for 8 years or so after it came back to me. I was having out of body experiences. I did not share. I didn't want the attention. I didn't want the negative response. That just comes with the territory. But 5 or 6 years ago, I really felt this nudge like the ground is just fertile enough. Like it's just fertile enough where this could really help, you know? And so I decided like there's a personal cost, but what am I afraid of? I'm not even human. What am I afraid of? That my reputation is going to be like tarnished or something? Like that's silly. Do you know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
so
really.
listening to that when you say yes, it's like, "Oh, you're saying yeah, you're listening." And then another door opens and another door opens. And now I can't imagine going. I mean, I can't go back in the closet now. I just am who I am. I mean, I'm a normal person too. Okay.
Of
But
course.
I also can't help but constantly sense that this layer of deeper spiritual reality that's always going on. Like I have this energetic sense that is always on. And so I can't really I can't turn that off. So now I love to arrive in the way that is most, hopefully, the most authentic and present and joyful and maybe direct, you know. But I also try to be aware, of course, with where people are. I try to listen and be discerning about that. I'm just saying that I'm no longer afraid, and I've
That's a
chosen
wonderful, powerful
chosen to
place
be
to be
bold.
coming from.
Thank you. It's so empowering. And you don't even have to like do a bunch of things, by the way. That's something else that just feels like it wants to come out. Like it's not like that means you have to go like affect 10,000 people.
No.
It just be yourself, man. Like live the life that you want to live. Live the life you want to live. I know you have all these good I'm not putting aside all the good reasons that we have that we can't choose. I mean, are under incredible constraints here, financial constraints and biological constraints, health constraints, societal constraints, political constraints, the very constraints of the physical reality itself, linear time and discrete location, and all these things we take for granted. I mean, there's so much that we're constrained within, so to speak, within the simulation. That doesn't matter, actually. What matters is what you're choosing, the quality of what you're choosing, and why. Yeah, it's
Well,
beautiful.
that's super powerful. And I feel like it sounds like what you're saying is that you've learned how to listen to your intuition
Yes.
more over time. So, for the people that are watching,
Mhm.
what can they do to better listen to and maybe even trust their own
Mm.
intuition?
So first, something else that I felt like I should mention when you said that. I'm a very like historically intellectual person, and so for the
By
very
design, by plan.
by does I may very well is definitely a part of the plan. Um, so I just mean that like I 15 years ago, my ego took pride in this idea that I was a thinker or something. It means almost nothing. I know now that means almost nothing. But I'm just saying that for those who are intellectually minded, I applaud the power of intellect. In fact, I seek personally, I feel very, 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 very passionate about bridging the world of the local intellect with the deeper self and its incredible wisdom. I'm very passionate about those two sides of the Grand Canyon. They're not actually separate, they're one thing, but they feel like they're two sides of the Grand Canyon when we're associated with thought. So I'm just lifting that up because this is not like, oh, just throw at everything you know. No, I I am all about like we need to be reason focused. This is a very reasonable unfolding an investigation of reality that we're talking about. you know, Follow your reason basically. Don't even accept anything I say or anything anybody else says if it doesn't align with your reason. Just listen to your reason. Do you know what I mean? Trust that. Okay, anyway. That being said, to your question, the thing I would lift up actually is meditation, even though this may not sound directly related. The reason I lift it up is because when we are really deeply associated with the constant thought stream, we can't see clearly. So the intuition gets drowned out by the loud noise of the river, of the constant thoughts and the constant stories. if we take up a consistent long-term meditation practice and we are genuine, and we arrive with quality of intention that is to truly investigate what I am beneath thought and to truly kind of regain control of focus, even just doing that. It's hard to start. As we do that, it creates this beautiful space, and the larger part of ourself rises up all on its own. That larger self contains much more than just subtle intuitive knowing, actually. Not to get too stimulating to the ego, but it also can mean non-physical experiences, out of body experiences. Like a few months after I started meditating, I had my first non-physical experience. It was super eye-opening. There was no going back. You know what I mean? I had no expectation of that at all. But that's just how it is when we really deeply set aside thought and return with full alertness, full clarity to this deep, beautiful present moment. As we gain in familiarity with the depth of that present moment, the intuitive self becomes quite clear. Because basically, this is a process of accepting everything in yourself and saying yes to life, all of life. Okay, even including the difficulties that you may have had internally. As we say yes to everything, that also means you say yes to the intuition. It's like it's waiting for you to say yes. It's waiting for you to not be afraid of the dark closet anymore. And because as you say okay to the dark closet, you're actually saying okay to everything, including this deeper guidance.
Thank you. I think that that's really helpful for people who are watching. And I want to add a caveat to the meditation message. So
Yeah.
if you're one of the people watching, like me, who have not been able to meditate, tried
Hmm.
all kinds of things. I tried meditating when I woke up after 9 hours of sleep and still fell asleep. What has
Yeah.
worked for me is what I call a walking meditation where I am in nature. And I think that that's really the key to this. And you just focus on your surroundings and not on your thoughts. And you walk and you're purposeful and you're enjoying and just bringing in the vibration of nature. And I think that you can reach meditative states similar to what Christian is talking about without having to sit down, close your eyes,
Hmm.
and try to have a practice that maybe doesn't work for you. So it's almost like a baby step, and maybe that'll help you to get to the other place, or maybe you never will. But it doesn't matter. I just don't want people to be
Yeah.
turned off because meditation hasn't necessarily worked for them.
Yeah, no, that's a fantastic comment. A word for what you just described is mindfulness.
I love that. Yeah.
And meditation is synonymous with mindfulness, actually. It just typically means a process where mindfulness is actualized through some process.
Which is
Yeah.
whether you close your eyes in your inner room or whether you're intentionally
Yes.
doing that while you're walking.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because I mean, here's another way to put this. Meditation is about alertness and being present with what is here.
Hmm.
Because what's truly here is consciousness, okay? But until you locate that, it looks like all that's here is an environment and some thoughts and some feelings.
Yeah.
So you don't get to the backdrop by like creating a new thought. You get to the backdrop by being so alert that you see exactly what's here now,
Mm.
exactly what you're feeling, exactly the trees in nature, exactly listen to the birds singing. Yeah.
Excellent. Well, since we're talking about being awake, being
Yeah.
present, being mindful, can we talk about this great awakening that seems to be part of most discussions that I'm hearing about right now? And I'd love to get your thoughts, and wondering if you have any memories that this was part of why you chose to come in when you came in.
Well, I'll at least say that I was very much aware that this was the awakening act of the play in my pre-birth experience. It was just kind of known. It was just like the act of the play. I don't know how else to describe it. It was just known. It was like, okay, this is the very beginning of the awakening act. And I knew, like, I was born in 1980, and I could even in my pre-birth experience, I remember reviewing a lot of things in a numerical way. I'm interested in
Mm.
structure,
Mhm.
and numbers are easy. So I remember knowing, like, it was kind of starting very, very like early starting in the 80s and 90s, but I remember knowing it would be more like in my 20s, 30s, and 40s that like it would be picking up. But it was also more like a probabilistic, how do I put this? Like everything is the pre-life review is probabilistic. So it was obvious that that the direction is towards awakening. It wasn't necessarily crystal clear, like the degree to which the awakening might successfully unfold. There's more or less degree, but it was definitely moving in that direction. I could see that clearly. And now that, now that I'm here as an energetically sensitive person, I'm aware of it. It's happening. It can be felt in the collective consciousness that consciousness is shifting very quickly right now. It's also a lot of friction going on right now. You and I kind of talked about that before we started recording. There's thousands of years of this old, fear-based conditioning that we're working through. We have a lot of fear. And when we have a lot of fear and a lot of ego and a lot of old beliefs that we're holding on to, those things, they can seem tenacious in the short term, and they can cause a lot of friction as we wrestle with them. I mean, our whole society is built on, not our whole society, but many, many, many aspects of our society are built on some of those old fear-based patterns, like us versus them thinking, competition of my group versus your group, my group at the expense of your group, judging one group of people over the other because look, now my group has strength and because I judged yours or something. Like it's very basic, crude stuff here. Like even just like sexual freedom or the equality of certain groups like the sexes. Like we haven't even learned that yet. I mean, we're still working on that. And that's very basic stuff. Whereas the truth of our nature is so connected and it's so wise in love and in the thousands and thousands and thousands of expressions of love that love can mean. We have a long way to go, but we are definitely pointed in the direction of working past the old towards that deeper true nature. Like we can't help but get there eventually. It might be more or less tumultuous along the way, maybe even very tumultuous potentially. But overall, I think we are succeeding and we have an incredible amount of help in the non-physical.
When you say we have an incredible amount of help, tell me what you mean by that.
Yeah, I mean, we have many, many guides and other friends in the non-physical who are helping to nudge in small ways. Okay, there's not to get too like, strange sounding here, but there are energetic realities that precede the physical reality, and we're all connected to those. And there's a lot of work that happens there in thought space and in the energy space of humanity. And
So like the
so
collective
yes,
consciousness.
the collective consciousness environment is like an energy, like think of like a pond of energy within a much bigger ocean of energy, something like that. And in the pond's temperature is like increasing slowly. But even a small degree, even a tenth of a degree increase is like a big deal when you have this dense of a pond. You know what I'm saying? And within that pond, then our non-physical friends, they can see very clearly where we can't see super clearly at the human level. So they're able to identify like uh, we'll just call it forks or energetic nudges that could be provided that might help here and there. And they can encourage us individually in personal ways that are meaningful and uplift the individual. Yeah. Or the collective, actually. But
During that almost entire explanation, I got my spirit signal that I get, which is I have this crazy thing that happens in my left ear only, where it's like the
okay.
hair stands on end. Like, you know how your hair stands up when you're
Yeah.
cold? That's what that feels like to me. And whenever that happens, I am hearing a truth. Like it's happened several times, but it happened for a very long duration while you were explaining that. So
Great.
people go back, rewind, listen to that
It's
again.
funny. I felt some guy, not to be too strange here, but I felt some guide nudges like, don't say it like, but it's fine. But like, cause they're trying to say like a bunch at once. I only have like 10 words I can use. But it's simply that we have a lot of help and that we are loved and that we cannot fail. That's like the energy
We
of their
cannot
support.
fail. What do you mean we cannot fail? Like this will not fail because it's not
I
meant to
didn't, I
fail?
didn't say that I didn't, okay. So I'm not even saying that the stage play won't necessarily like have major catastrophe. It might, I'm not predicting any end of the world stuff or anything like that. I'm just saying that the truth is what's first.
Mm.
And the
So this
truth
is
is,
meant to come out.
what I'm saying is the truth of spirit of the truth of being. And
Okay.
in that, there can't be failure. It already is the thing that's most real. It already is complete total freedom, love, peace, and joy. And that's who we are. So the reason I say we can't fail is A, you can't actually fail in your life. And that's very, very freeing. Like you can't fail. Like you're gonna be fine. And you will be so loved and respected. It's good. It's fine. Meanwhile, by you can't fail, I mean it's all utilized by spirit for the growth of love ultimately, even if there's some local messiness that might happen. Like in the worst, I'm not saying that I don't have any sense that this is going to happen, but even if the world were to physically end, it's not, I know that sounds like end of the world, right? That's like the worst thing we can imagine, right? It's actually not a big deal. Like what I
Which
mean
is
is
so crazy to hear
like
you say, but I know what you mean.
like what I mean is we are the players. We're the consciousness having the experience. It'd be like if, 7, 8 billion players logged into a Minecraft server and then someone blew up all the blocks and everybody returned to being in their video game rooms. It's not really a big deal. In fact, you go, "Oh, that was pretty crazy. That was exciting." But you weren't actually harmed. Now, of course, here in the physical, we feel of course the difference is that here in the physical, we feel threatened. We feel harmed because we feel real pain, right? I know that. It doesn't actually change what I'm saying because the depth of being is deeper than any of the pain. I'm not making light of the pain. I'm not making light of the terrible, terrible torment that is experienced on earth. I'm not. Oh my gosh, I'm not. But I'm just saying that the field in which that experience is occurring is deeper. The movie screen on which the movie is playing is first. So no matter what happens in the movie, the screen can't be hurt. It can't fail.
Right.
And the screen is consciousness itself, spirit itself. So there's an incredible freedom in that because as we hear the message, you can't fail. It frees us to not because the thing is when we're carrying around this burden, maybe now it's a new burden that we call, oh, now I have to be spiritual and behave a certain way. We can throw the burden stuff away, honestly. Like that's what this awakening actually is about. You could say that the awakening is like a deep unburdening.
Mm. I like that a lot.
I,
And
I feel that deeply.
I like that a lot. And I really, really love the message because this is, again, come up over and over again and with people who've had near-death experiences is that your soul cannot be harmed. And then people in the comments write, well, what about the pain? I can still have this, I can still have
Yeah.
that. But you had a very specific memory of creating a life in which you would experience a very specific kind of pain for the purpose of I know I want it. I'm again, ego starts to
Yeah.
step in, and so I'm careful with how I'm wording this. Where you would, I'm going to use the word expand your soul in a certain way, refine. I'm going to use the word refine.
Yeah.
Refine your soul in a certain way by having that experience of pain. And for people who are watching who have not watched your account of your pre-birth memory, will you speak a little bit? Because I know there are a lot of people that talk about this so much in the comments about the pain part
Yeah.
and about how the pain is actually happening. I'm going to call it for us and not to us.
Absolutely. Well, first, just a small, tiny technical correction. It's not that I created the life. It's that this life was an opportunity that was available and I reviewed it in detail and I tweaked it, but I could see all that it meant. And it meant the likely complete traumatization of my human self through health issues, and especially one in my early 20s that would completely crush me and cause an incredible amount of pain,
Which did come true.
which did come true. Yeah, that happened. So the thing is, here's the thing. Okay, I know this sounds like, oh, it sounds so trite and easy. No, this is super, super powerful. And I'll start with a Bashar comment. Circumstances don't matter. Only state of being matters. Okay, so in the case of pain, it is not actually about whether or not you are experiencing pain. The question is what you do, how you respond, and what you choose. What quality of intention, which means what kind of choice making, like the real why, the real choice making. What quality of choice making do you bring into that context? Do you accept it or do you reject and rant and rave, as an example? Do you choose to try to serve the person next to you in a small way? Or perhaps do you choose to enjoy the sunlight coming in the window anyway? Do you choose to run away from the meaning that the pain might prompt? Like it might prompt, I know in my case, the meaning was really deep. It was like, I'm powerless to escape suffering. I'm powerless to escape agony. That powerlessness was like the biggest thing for me because the largest chunk of the negative we're experiencing on earth isn't the pain, it's the suffering, which is the word I'm using for the negative meaning that we're putting on it and the way that we respond to it. Basically, rejection and fear. Fear and rejection is hell. Fear is hell. Okay. And so it's just that the pain, when it rises up, it often prompts a story immediately. It happens so fast we don't even catch it. This is one of the reasons meditation is so important, by the way, because we miss this like half a tenth of a millisecond between when the headache starts and when we think, oh, I here is my powerlessness again, or whatever the negative story is, or maybe it's, oh, I could have a brain tumor. That would be worst case. Like what I'm not making light of that. It's okay that it's even okay that thought arises. I'm just pointing out that we react so quickly to the physical, including pain, that we don't even notice our own meaning and the way that we're relating to it. So, can we bring more alertness and acceptance into that? And then can we be more intentional with how we meet it and how we frame it, what story we buy into about it? We don't, but you don't even need a story. Like, what quality of being do you arrive with? Parentheses, that can happen whether you have pain or not. Parentheses, that can happen whether or not you're bedridden or not. Like, I've gone through all sorts of chronic illness in this life and incredible amounts of pain. And and I've been debilitated and disabled in many times. And sometimes for short durations and sometimes for longer durations. And for a long time, I wrestled with a perception of powerlessness and feeling like if I can't do the things I need to do, that means something negative about me. That is actually not true. But in order to find that, I had to be willing to actually feel what I feel. I had to be willing to actually face the deepest, deepest layers of that fear. So all that is to say, that pain when it arises, it's actually an offering in a similar way to how you might say a weight on a weight bench is an offering. It's heavy, okay? It hurts. It hurts. It's heavy. It's another way of saying it's heavy, right? But the question isn't whether or not it's heavy. It's actually not evil. It's just heavy. It's just heavy. It's just arriving now. Here's the thing in your experience. It's arriving. It's heavy. The question is, do you lift it? And how do you lift it? That's the only thing you have to worry about. And that lifting is about how you choose to meet it in this moment. Don't worry about the whole thing. This moment is all there ever is. Just in this moment, what is the quality of being that you bring forward into whatever has arisen? Now, ironically, interestingly, as we fully accept the negative and the pain, it tends to heal. You see, it tends to actually be released and relinquished and integrate. Because once we integrate that, there's not actually a value to the weight anymore. So it's not, it doesn't have a manifestation nudge like the same that it would have if if you hadn't had that. Like Tom Campbell has a very direct way of saying this. He says something, and the ego does not like this either. But I've heard him say, this reality gives you what you fear. Well, that sounds terrible, right? No, it's not about tormenting you. It's simply about identifying the part of your experience that you haven't yet integrated, helping you to see the fear that still is there so you can face it and process it. Fear is just like one word, but it can have all sorts of different tentacles. What is the nature of the rejection, basically? So if something rises up, what part of yourself is that inviting you to heal, to process? And in that way, pain is not happening to you, it's happening for you. And when the physical life is over and you look back, I you can see, wow, that was a heck of a ride. Wow, that was intense. Wow, that was hard. And then you can see though the magic, the power of even just a small, like we might think a small bit of love or a small bit of acceptance doesn't do very much. It does a ton. Like if you are really under a heavy weight and you like really this moment feel what you're feeling and take ownership for your own crap and accept this present moment and whatever love can mean 1,000 things versus all the things fear can mean. And you can intuit the difference because I'm not labeling it as one type of behavior. I'm saying you can intuit the difference. As you do that, a small action here is like 1,000 miles in spirit because we have become super leveraged, you could say, by the density of the physical. And in the leverage of the density, the quality of the choices we can bring forth are that much more potent. And that's why expansion happens so quickly here, as you've probably heard said in near-death experiences. Okay, that was a big tangent, but hopefully I spoke to your
No,
question.
it was it's crazy. Just that there's just so much that oozes
Yeah,
out of this. One of the things that really caught my attention was towards the end when you said a small action here
yeah,
is like 1,000 miles in
yeah,
spirit. And we
yeah.
didn't say what kind of action that was.
The action is the quality of intention that is in alignment with love and rather than fear in whatever that means for you. So it could mean, and I don't want to like pigeonhole because what happens is when people hear that they think, oh, there's a new behavior, and it's not just about a behavior. This is about a quality of intention, which means behavior, okay? But it doesn't always mean the same behavior. Like you have to feel what is the most true way you can meet this moment, and that could mean acceptance. It could mean owning your own selfishness. Maybe your spouse is ticked off at you and you actually say, you know what? Maybe I am a little bit to blame for this. That's not easy for the ego. Ego doesn't like that. But ego is arising from fear. And it's an act of facing fear when you actually look inside yourself and say, wow, maybe I am being kind of a jerk, or maybe I really am to blame for some of this, or maybe I really can improve. You know what I mean? Like that shift, that quality of a shift when you're under this much weight is a big deal.
Mm,
This is
wow.
really this is really important stuff.
It
Like
is really important stuff.
because we don't talk about like we don't teach our kids this in school. This is this is one of the things I feel like as a small person I would have liked to know having come to Earth. Like, oh, right, thank you for reminding because we all kind of know anyway. But if we had that awareness, and again, it's not just like really what I'm talking about ultimately is like, can you fully align with your full self? Because your full self is love and peace and freedom and joy. It's not fear. It's not the negative self perceptions that this life seemed to have proved to you. They're not even fundamentally real. They're not even true. Can you locate that? And then if we do that, we unshackle each other to the incredible power of our higher nature. Like that is the real power. Like we're all focused on the physical and the money and moving the objects around and who has more objects today and how many rocks
Hmm.
are over here versus over here. That entire thing is subsequent to the power of spirit.
Hmm.
It's nothing compared to the real thing, which is consciousness itself. And you
And
always have a choice of how you arrive. Yeah.
and you remember the love on the other side. I've also spoken about this too, because I too have been on the other side where the only thing that we were was this incredible, powerful love. It was like take the vibration, the power of like a jackhammer, but make it the smoothness of a hummingbird wing, and take the most beautiful note that you have ever heard and move that out into eternity, infinity.
A trillion,
And
trillion,
that was
trillion.
what
Yeah.
we were, was that love, that vibration. And it's just, I don't have any human words other than like try and do the best I can to describe it, but it pales in comparison to what we are. I mean, truly,
Amen.
if you look at what this channel is about, it is waking you up to the power of your soul. And nothing about that has anything to do with fear. And I think
That's
one of
right.
the things that bothers me the most doing and having a channel like this is reading the comments. And over again, I'm something making me cry because over and over again, I feel like people are so stuck in their pain and they're
Yeah.
so stuck in their fear that they have forgotten that they are love. They have forgotten the power of what they are. And in the comments, I see people talking about hell and fear and damnation and
Mm.
judgment. And it just makes me so sad because we've lost sight of what we are. We just don't remember. And part of it's
Yes,
by the
exactly.
design. We put on the veil and we come here to have this experience, and that's intentional. But the more that we can wake up and remember what we really and truly are, the more it evolves your life into being able to, and we're going to talk about this in a second, because it's kind of me bridging us into manifestation. And when I'm talking about manifestation, I really don't mean manifesting $1 million, manifesting your dream vacation,
Mm.
although those things can bring you happiness. It's more about manifesting the true joy that is your birthright.
Amen. Yes, it is a quality of being and therefore a quality of life.
Right.
Okay, so like even the following sentence sounds like sacrilege on earth because like there's so many pissed off egos running around. Life is not your enemy.
Mm. Which
The
is funny that
universe is
you
not
say
your
that,
enemy.
Christian, because the thing that people keep saying is, I'm not coming back here.
Yeah.
I'm doing this life and I'm not coming back here. But I think on a soul level, it's our greatest joy to come back again and
So, so saying you don't, it's okay, so this is a bigger topic, but
again.
quick, and I love everything you said, by the way. Like the age-old adage, don't read the comments. Some,
I know, but I have
sometimes I read the
to.
comments. No, but you know what though? It is hurtful because okay, being connected to spirit is about being open. It is about vulnerability. It is vulnerability. It's like it is synonymous with vulnerability. So it means that the ego action of another, which might be very small, maybe all they did is post a comment like whatever, whatever simple comment. To them, it was like a 2 second quick ego hit for like a second. But it can really hurt, you know, if you're vulnerable. Meanwhile, though, as we awaken, we also are allowed to see, and this is not a judgment. This is not judgment, but we can see just very plainly. Oh, that's just ego. It's just they're hurting. And how many times have we been hurting and we hurt someone else inadvertently?
Of course, all the
You
time.
know what I
Every
mean?
heck,
An
it's
ego all
yeah.
the time. An ego is put it this way, ego itself is sleep. Like alertness is the that's why the move towards in meditation is towards alertness because alertness is closer to what we really are. It's full consciousness, high consciousness, high degree of consciousness. Ego is like someone says something mean to you and you just feel angry right away and you're asleep in the angry thought. You don't even have control at a certain level. You do have control, but it feels like there's a loss of control because you're kind of asleep in this little pattern. Actually, every single thought is like a little sleep, actually. But anyway, I'm just saying that because it can help at least a bit to identify, oh no, this is just my brother or sister who is hurt. And
Just a
I get
version of
hurt
me that's
sometimes.
hurt.
Yes, exactly. Another part of yourself that's hurt. So if the other part of yourself is hurt, do you need to be hurt too? No, that doesn't actually help them
Yeah, if
or
I hit
you.
my thumb with a hammer, I don't need to go hit my toe too.
Well, like if you hit your thumb with a hammer, I can feel compassion for you, but I also don't have to like lose my peace. Because the thing is, I like love is about celebration of joy and freedom. That's I don't know how to describe this very specific angle of energy I'm trying to describe. I'm simply saying that we don't have to be pulled down into all the pain and all the terror. Maybe it's a one ego comment in YouTube, but maybe it's all the news that's just rife with like, ooh, ego stimulation, ego stimulation. It's one person made a terrible decision and now 10 million people are hearing about it. Doesn't there's everybody scared now watching my commercial, you know. That's not helpful. That's not no, but I'm saying that because like we've normalized, the itch, the fear itch. Watch my fear-based news. Now you're really going to pay attention because fear sells, and then you're going to watch my commercial, and we're going to earn the money, and we think that's winning. But it's not winning because now 10 million creative, powerful beings are focusing in a negative direction. Anyway, I'm simply saying that okay, as we awaken, we take full responsibility for the world. Actually, okay, even as we don't have to lose our peace to what is arising. It's not actually helpful. Yeah, I mean that's the simplest way I can think to put that.
No, I think that that's a fantastic clarification.
So
It's,
manifestation was your question.
yeah.
I told sorry.
Yeah, no, no, no. And there's
So
no
I'll
sorry. Are
just
you
make one
kidding
comment.
me?
I'll just make one comment that connects to that. So
Okay.
the physical reality is, I know this sounds like a tall order because we're like materialists because we think
Yeah,
matter is all there is.
right.
Physical reality is a probabilistic simulation. It's not actually a tangible thing. It's not a fundamentally objective thing. That probabilistic simulation, our reality has firm rules, some pretty darn dense, firm, very precise, firm rules. However, those rules include probability. They include a probabilistic way for how reality unfolds. Okay, as you align with your true nature and unshackle from fear, or even as you focus into fear too, but whatever direction you're focusing, you could just put it very simply, you're nudging the probabilities in that direction. And as you align with your true power, that is disproportionately powerful because the reality is basically built for you to grow in love.
Mm.
Like it's
The
made for it.
reality is built for you to grow in love.
Yes, and joy and peace and freedom, and for your true nature to deepen. Your true nature is love, peace, and joy and freedom, and the reality is here, this reality, so that can deepen. So when you actually choose to face your crap for real, I'm not talking pretend. I'm talking for real. The whole thing we're talking about is like the for real. When you like for real face your crap or for real make the loving choice, the universe responds because it's made for that unfolding. Oh my God, I feel so much energy right now. It's crazy. It's made for that unfolding. So it's going to so built into the way that it manifests is the probability room, the wiggle room for things to shift. And so that's why, when people say that they're really aligned with themselves and their passion, synchronicity just starts happening.
Yep. Yep,
That's
for
because the universe
sure.
just that's because I think that's like the natural way things should be working. Now on Earth, we have dampened the crap out of synchronicity because, we're focused on the news and
And the brain and the
we're focused on the conditioning and on the small
yeah.
pattern. We're a bunch of creative beings who are like when you were talking about the hell comments. Oh my gosh, that brings me so much pain too. Because for me, the greatest disservice is that we are all okay. So we're all pieces of God. Okay, very powerful creative beings. The disservice is now you've got millions and millions of those thinking they don't have power,
Right.
thinking they don't have freedom, thinking they don't have worth. That is the crime.
Yep.
The crime is that we have like fallen asleep into these really, really low vibration thought patterns. And that's why this is so important. Because this is
Right.
a part of the awakening. A part of the awakening is in the intellectual space of wait, no, we're going to disarm that old fear-based stuff. What about hell? What if I'm going to be burn in hell forever? Well, that's a pretty scary ass belief. Sorry for my language that we created. We created that, and
Yep.
certain power structures may have been involved. I'm not going to get into that now. But it's like the worst thing we can imagine within a spectrum of duality because we believe in duality. We believe in hot and cold, up and down, left and right as being the fundamental thing. So wow, what about this idea of eternal torture? That's like the worst, right? The belief itself is the disservice. That it's so painful to believe that. It's disempowering. Like I remember someone
Mhm.
close to me recently, there's someone close to me who I respect them very deeply and they happen to have a certain belief tradition and they said, "I have fear of God," and they said it in a way that because that's written in the Bible, like all wisdom begins with the fear of the Lord. But if we even don't because okay, I'm so passionate about this, I feel like I might burst. Unconditional love is the first thing. It's first, man. And I will die on that hill of unconditional love, not conditional love. And that difference between unconditional love versus conditional love, we have religions built on that.
Yes, thank you, thank you, thank you.
Now, I'm not dissing the religions because
No.
I grew up in a religious tradition. I take joy in going to church still. I do. It's simply that we don't need to disempower ourselves. anymore, guys. And it takes a lot of bravery to turn back. Like, let's say you were brought up with that belief. It takes a heck of a lot of bravery to turn and face something where you think that if you face it, you think if you change your beliefs, you might burn in hell. That takes a lot of courage.
Yeah.
This is the place we do that.
Yeah.
This is the place where we can actually have a belief in something like eternal hell. And then we can actually turn and say, you know what? I don't know if that's right.
You did
What if
that and
God's
I
love
did
is
that.
unconditional? What if God's
Yep.
love is unconditional?
Yep.
That is the most important message we could bring forward.
Yep.
Ugh.
Yeah, because you can't have, how can you have the conditions on anything to judge anything if it's supposed to be unconditional? It just doesn't make sense.
And unconditional is not unwise.
Mm.
When I say God's love is unconditional, when I say God, okay, God is just a word. I don't even care about that word. Source, the great I am, whatever word we want to use. I'm just clarifying that because I'm not just speaking about like the religious character of God. Though I don't mind the word. I personally like the word, but I know many people get a thing, have an issue with the word. Okay, that thing is unconditional. That is unconditional love, and that unconditional love is incredibly wise,
Mhm.
incredibly intelligent. Like you wouldn't even believe the universe shattering, like ego shattering, ego obliterating power of what we're talking about. That loves you unconditionally, even knowing it all. That's what we're talking about, man. And that is the most wonderful, holy thing that we can share with each other. I am so passionate about this.
That's a mic drop. Like what else can we even talk about after
What else
this?
can we exactly? Honestly, no,
Seriously,
that
that
is the most important message.
I love it. I do. I think so too. It's about the empowerment and remembering that we are all part of all of that.
Like basically, another way to summarize that entire thing is you do not need to be afraid.
Mhm.
And if you think you do, and you're afraid that there's a reason must be afraid, that's fear too. Go find out. It's okay, but you don't have to. It's your choice. You can do whatever you
Well,
like.
take in what resonates and let go what doesn't.
Exactly.
That's what I tell everybody when they
No,
write the
exactly.
comments. Take in what resonates with you and let go because it's not meant for you right now if it doesn't resonate. Maybe it never will be. Maybe you'll come back to it later. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
You're on your path. What's true for you is true for you.
Right. We're all at our own place in our long soul journeys, but we all also understand love.
We
Even
all
if we don't
understand.
remember that we do, even if we've been traumatized all heck and we're all scar tissue now, okay? Psychologically. Underneath it, we all resonate with love and the truth.
Wow.
Like basically, are you brave enough to listen to that? That's it. That's what this is about. That's what a walk in the physical, this walk in the physical is about.
Which brings me, thank you for that perfect segue, Christian, to how people can find you, how they can learn more, how they can connect. So why don't you
Yeah.
tell us about that?
Yeah. So my website is awalkinthephysical.com. The book is available for free at the third link down on the book page to be read online. It's also on Amazon in print or Kindle or audiobook. I'm
Oh,
very
you, I didn't know
passionate.
you did an
I
audiobook.
did. I recorded it myself on this very mic, and it was
Oh,
not
it's a
easy.
great mic, by the way.
Thanks. It's just a mic, but it took a lot of work to get it to the audiobook to record properly. But I felt very impassioned. It was funny. I was going for a walk, and I felt this intuitive love, a nudge. Because when you really listen to spirit, sometimes you get some stuff that's like kind of
You
shocking.
do.
And it
Yep.
was like audiobook. And I'm like, what? Like, so I just like, I spent this is before I went back to work. I spent 2 weeks and did nothing but focus on the audiobook. It took a sound tech friend of mine 13 hours to get one audio sample to pass.
Wow.
Even with all of his equipment that I borrowed, because their quality requirements are so high. Anyway,
Wow.
right. So it's going down a tangent. But anyway, I'm happy also to try to respond to emails, but I get a lot of emails. So if I
I
can't respond,
imagine.
I apologize, but it's a walk in the physical at gmail.com. I am happy to connect with whom I can. I also work a full-time job like you do.
Yeah.
So life is
Yeah.
busy. But one of the greatest blessings of sharing in this way is I've met so many amazing awakened people.
I
Like
know.
we are awakening and the number is growing. And when you go to some place like the IANDS conference where we saw each other a few months ago, you
We
could feel
did.
it. Like there's so much love there. It's ludicrous.
Well, let's talk about that real quick. So these videos live in perpetuity. This is 2025, January of
Right.
2025 when we're recording this. And in August of 2025, and they will have the IANDS conference in Chicago.
Mhm.
Christian has been asked to speak at it. I decided not to apply, but I will be there at least for some, if not the whole thing. And it is such, if you're looking for amazing, mind-blowing conversations, if you're looking for content to listen to and to raise your vibration, like there is a actual physical feeling while you're there of an
Yeah.
increased vibration. I think all of us who are sensitive to that felt that.
Oh, yes. Yeah, for sure.
It's amazing. Well, Christian, I can't tell you how much I appreciate you.
I appreciate you,
You have
Lori.
been a part of my journey. You have been part of where I am and what I'm doing. And I just feel grateful. I feel grateful that we've been able to meet in real person
Yes.
into doing these conversations. And conversations feed my soul.
Amen. They feed my soul too. That's why I love doing this.
Yeah.
Thank you very
amazing.
much for sharing it, because this is the real work. Like what I mean is like reminding each other, oh, you don't have to be afraid. You can be your full self, man, even here.
Yeah.
Encouraging each other, like doing that here in the physical, and then that causes a change in mind space, and that facilitates the awakening. And that's what I know, that's what you said you're interested in doing, and if your calling is, yes, this is how we do that, you know. And then for those who listen to this video and they might share with one person, that little ripple in the pond, it doesn't even need to be the whole human race, guys. It's just like one ripple. Oh, that's what it's all about. And so I'm really honored to be able to share with you. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. And I just thank so much everybody for watching. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Have a wonderful day.
Next up, check out this playlist of other NDE interviews. Please like and subscribe. It really helps this channel to grow so I can bring you more content. Thank you for watching. I'm so glad you're here.